Good. There we go. The recording has started. Okay, we're going to make two types of pasta today. One is carbonara. We're going to make spaghetti alla carbonara, and then we're going to make a tortelli with cacio e pepe. So follow me over here. I'm going to first show you the different pastas that we have. I mentioned to you that pastas should be uh, preferably from Italy because they know how to make pasta and they take it very seriously over there. And these are the different kinds of pastas and shapes that I have, okay? But I want to show you, this is the tagliatelle, which is sort of like a fettuccine, okay? And Benedetto Cavalieri is one of the best pasta makers in the world. And this is from Lecce, okay? We're going to use La Molisana. It's from Molise. It's a mountain town. And we're going to use spaghetto quadrato chitarra una, which means it's made from a string of guitars. And what they do is they have this pasta and they make it from a guitar or catari, and it's a square spaghetti. That's traditionally used when you make cacio e pepe. This one here is another one from Abruzzo, which is semolo grano duro, which is, they're all made with hard grain. Semolina, and this is a spaghetti. You can see the round spaghetti. Vermicelli. Can somebody tell me what vermicelli means? Not yet? Vermicelli means little worms in Italian. I told you they have these wonderful little names for things, but it's like almost, it's a little thicker than angel hair, which is this, angel hair. Again, Cavaliere Giuseppe Cocco, another very good one. This last one that I showed you here, Vermicelli di Gragnano, Matt, you're going to be happy to know that this was Anthony Bourdain's favorite pasta.
Rest in peace.
My man.
And then here, this has become quite popular. They're called paccare. And can you see them in the package there? They're big. They're basically big rigatoni without any ridges in it. So it's a very flat but big, thick rigatoni pasta. Those are the different types of pasta. But remember I said to you, try to find something that's a bronze die, okay? And you'll see it's called, in Italian, it's called trafila rovudia di bronzo, because the bronze, what that does is when they extrude the pasta out of the bronze die, it creates little holes in the pasta, imperfections. They have some that are Teflon now and aluminum, and what they make is a very slick pasta. So what happens here, when you have imperfections in the pasta absorbs the liquid, whether it's a sauce, etc. So some of you are taught to wash your pasta off. You could see that I'm completely destroyed when I see that. People wash their pasta in the sink. The pasta water is the secret to Italian pasta, okay? And you'll see when we use pasta water in both these recipes, it is the most important part of the Italian cooking when it comes to pasta. The second thing you should remember is always, I have the water boiling over here, always salt your pasta lightly, okay? Sometimes I salt it very, when I'm making a dish that's just with tomato sauce, I will put a lot of salt in. But these are kind of salty because the cheese, the pecorino is very salty, and the pancetta or the guanciale is salty. So I don't use a lot of salt, but let's say like that much for this type of pasta. Now, some myths are that if you put salt in, it boils faster. That's not true. In fact, the opposite. You put salt in after it's boiling. Otherwise, it'll take longer to boil. The one thing you must remember when you cook pasta is cook it with cold water. Why is that? It's really simple and commonsensical, because the water in your hot water heater is sitting there. It might be sitting there for 2 days. And if you use hot water, you think, oh, it'll boil faster. There's actually scientific proof it doesn't boil faster because of the molecules, the spacing. But that's a whole nother story, okay? But the bottom line is that cold water will be fresher. It won't taste like your water heater. So that's things I want to show you. So those are the basic let's say, ingredients that we're working with. The first pasta we're going to make is spaghetti alla carbonara, okay? And we're going to use this pasta from Abruzzi, made with the hard semolina flour. They all are. And the spaghetti takes 9 to 11 minutes to cook al dente. This is important because in both these recipes, you take the pasta out early. So you're going to need a timer, your phone, just to get you a sense of how long you have to cook it for. And I'll explain that in a second. Okay. Now, let's look at the ingredients that we're going to have for well, let me first tell you about carbonara. Everyone knows carbonara is like bacon and eggs in pasta. Excuse me. It was thought that in the 19th century, Romans will tell you that the carbonari, which are the people that bring the coal down from Abruzzi, from the mountains where this pasta is made, they would tell you that pasta, the wives of the coal miners, I'll call them, they're really the coal providers, they bring them into town, were these people, the wives, like remember we said Bistecca Pizzaiola, the pizza maker's wives? This is the carbonara's wives. Not true. And in fact, there's a lot of myths about this, but one that is true, that is interesting, and this is going to be, have to unmute Brendan, is that carbonara was actually invented in the 20th century by a guy named Renato Gualandi. He was born in Sicily. In 1944, you guys may remember there was something going on in Italy called World War II. In a beach town on the Adriatic called Riccione, this gentleman, Renato Gualandi, who became a great chef, and by the way, he was 96 and still living last year, he was making a special treat for the British troops that had come in there. And the head of the British forces was a guy named Harold Macmillan. Now, Brendan, what is Harold Macmillan famous for?
Did he become prime minister?
Damn well done, my friend. Well done. I don't know if Aiden's on, but I'm about to slap you on the back to thank you. That was fantastic. Okay. Now, this is a great story because this Italian chef, who later became one of the most famous chefs in Italy, in the Bologna area, which is known for its great rich food, the bolognese sauce, he said, I'm going to make something special for the British troops. What do they have there during the war? Nothing. They have some meats, some different things, little bits of things. But the British soldiers had with them rations. They had bacon. They had cream and milk, right? Of course, they needed that for their little precious tea. They would have, and they had processed cheese, not good cheese like we have here, and dried egg yolk and black pepper. So he came up with this idea to take bacon, dried egg yolk, like processed cheese, which I can't even imagine what it tasted like. But of course, the Brits loved it because you guys have terrible taste in pasta. So it was born. But in the early 50s, he started a very famous restaurant in Bologna. And with that, he perfected the recipe with fresh cheeses, fresh eggs, etc. So it turned into this. It was also very popular at the end of the war with the American soldiers, because the women would say when they came into the town and they wanted to thank them for liberating them, they would say, let's give them bacon and eggs. These guys like bacon and eggs. And so what could you make with bacon and eggs? Pasta with bacon and eggs, which is this recipe, carbonara, which I think is the coolest story in the world. Okay. Now,
Amazing.
okay. Now, I mentioned before guanciale. Guanciale is the jowl, the cheek of the pig. This is the entire cheek. So if you're not like, look here, I'm going to show you guys. That's basically the cheek of the pig. And they take it, they season it, and it's like you could eat it right now if you want to. I use guanciale. The pancetta is from the belly. Okay? Pancia in Italy means belly. So the pancetta is the belly, and you see it's often in America, it's rolled. In Italy, you get it as a flat piece. But you see the guanciale here? This is how it's preserved. like that, and seasoned on top, okay? But I could eat this right now. It's cured. Now, a lot of people ask, a lot of recipes have cream, cheese, different kinds of cheeses, butter, even olive oil. I'll tell you why. Because we're going to get the guanciale. We're going to put it in a cold pan, actually, and we're going to get it started. Okay, now the guanciale is the cheek, and it's the most coveted part. And this is the only, in Italy, they will only make it with this, especially alla amatriciana, which we'll make another day. But the guanciale is the jowl, and it's coveted. It has a high fat content, but it's really, really tastes amazing. And I have it here. Does anybody have guanciale? Are they doing pancetta or bacon?
I have pancetta.
Okay, excellent. The pancetta
We were
from
quarantined with bacon only.
That's okay. Bacon is fine. Bacon's the backside. Okay? Bacon's the backside. It's also where prosciutto comes from, where jamon de serrano comes from. And this is a special type of treat, this guanciale here. So, but look, they're all going to be great. The bacon will be delicious, etc. I don't put olive oil in there because an olive is a very different taste than the pancetta, than the bacon, than the guanciale. It's a very different taste. One is an animal and one's a vegetable. I don't have to state the obvious, okay? But we get this going, medium heat. If you have the bacon, same thing. If you have the pancetta, same thing. Get it going. We want to get it going a little bit. It does not need olive oil. If you want to, if you feel the need to put olive oil in, this is when you do it. Okay, but I don't do it. I let the natural fat render out of this. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay,
If we're using bacon, if we're using bacon, how much should we use?
I would use 8 ounces, a half a pound. If you're going to make a pound of pasta, I'd use 8 ounces. Hopefully it's thick cut bacon. It doesn't have to be thick cut. You're really looking for the flavor. It'll be delicious with the bacon. It will be delicious with the bacon. So don't worry about that. This is just a little bit of this is like snobbery from me. In fact, we sent out a tweet from Sirius, and the first tweet that came in said, if you use anything but guanciale, I'm going to kill you. So these are just, it is what it is. But the bacon will be delicious. I'd use a half a pound, okay, for a pound of pasta. Okay?
Perfect.
Now, this is the Parmigiano Reggiano. I got this also at Pastosa, where I got the guanciale primo. Did you get that? And you see it's yellow. It's very delicate. Parmigiano è delicato. Think of Parmigiano being the little cat in your house, and Romano è robusto. It's much more pungent. It's whiter. You see it? It's white. It's much more robust than the Parmesan. In Italy, and this is where for Passover, Bernelli makes a Parmigiano and a Romano kosher under the supervision of the rabbi. Now, you can't have it for Seder because you have it with wheat unless you want to put cacio pepe on matzah, which I guess you could do, But these are I use a little bit. I use about half and half for this recipe because the Romano that we have here is very, very robust and it's very flavorful. We say in Italy stagionato, which means it's like seasoned, but means it's like older than it should be. This is 3.5 years old, but it becomes delicate. It doesn't become robust like that. Now, I use I want to keep this going over here.
What's that cooking on? That guanciale, what's it cooking on?
Just on medium heat, on medium low. I don't want to burn it.
And
I don't
how
want to
much
burn.
what are you using?
I used
How
about
much?
I used about 10 ounces in here.
10 ounces.
I like it 10 ounces. I used about 10 ounces. If you use 6 ounces for a pound, it's fine. But I use a little more. I think it's tastier. Now,
And
that's a great question. It's a great question. You cook it till what you want to do. And this is really a tough thing to do. I've eaten at a restaurant in Rome. My friend's son is the cook there, and he had some guanciale that was, I don't even know how he did it, but it was crispy on the outside and soft and morbido, as we say in Italian, like very pliable on the inside. It was so delicious. It was hard to explain. But you know, when you have that perfect bacon sandwich that you're looking for, that's what you're trying to do here. You're trying to get it when it gets crispy on the outside, but still a little tender on the inside. Now, some people burn the hell out of it, and they pull it out after it's completely, as we say in Italian, croccante. Croccante means crispy. Okay, it's a nice word. It sounds like croccante. Sounds like crispy. Now, what I want you to do now is, as we're doing this and getting this ready, I'm going to get my little Caroline to give me 8 minutes on the pasta. I'm going to put the pasta in now. So if you have a chance, put the pasta in now. Now, importantly, you see that, guys? That was crazy. Importantly, you need to read the outside of the box and see how long it takes. This takes 9 minutes for al dente, okay? 9 to 11 minutes, okay? I do 9 minutes here. I'm going to take it out after 7 because I'm going to put it right in the guanciale. Any questions? I have not seasoned the guanciale. It's got its seasoning already. I have not seasoned it. I have not put olive oil in. The only taste you're going to have in there is the guanciale. Usually I put the top on the pasta because you want it to boil again quickly. But, you know, the reality is it's hot enough. Even if it's not roiling boil, don't worry about it. Because believe me, it's hot enough. It does its job. Now, I got the pasta going. I got the guanciale going. And what do I have to do? You saw the 2 kinds of cheeses. I'm going to take about a cup of romano and about a cup of parmesan. I'm using 6 egg yolks here. Put them in. And I want to create a paste. This is the hard thing in this recipe. Unless you've done this before, you wouldn't know to do it. And so what you end up doing is you end up putting the eggs in, not in a paste and in hot, and you get scrambled eggs. So can you guys see this paste here that I made? Can you see it, everyone? I think I'm going to put a little more in, a little more romano. There we go. Now, the black pepper, very important. You see I have pepe nero from Italy. They come now in these wonderful, easy to grate. I just grated it before this. I put it in. Let me give a little spin here. These are beautiful. I'm going to pull this off because it's already cooking. And now I mix in the pepper and the 2 cheeses. You see, we haven't used any salt, right? You could always add salt later if you wanted to, but we don't need to add salt. The cheeses are salty, and the pancetta or the bacon or the guanciale has it. You see the consistency of that, everyone? A nice paste. Okay? Now, I come over here. I see where my pasta is. and it's still not ready yet. How many minutes I got there? I got about 4 minutes. Okay. So I'm going to turn this down here a little bit. Now, remember I mentioned to you, some people put wine in the pancetta. It cuts a little bit of the acidity, cuts a little bit of the bacon and the bacon fat. I don't think it's necessary. I really don't. I like using just pasta water and this here. This is the time, if you want to, if you feel more comfortable, you can take the pancetta out now and leave just the oil in, just the fat, if you will. I don't. I like cooking it all together. And what we do now is we take a little bit of pasta water, and that's degreasing the fond that's there, and it's really stopped the crispiness of the bacon or the pancetta or the guanciale that's cooking. Okay? Everyone on the same page so far?
Yep, great.
All right, now, that's the secret. You're looking at the secrets now. You want to take this pasta. We have to take a quick one as I'm watching. I'm going to let the dog in, everyone. Here we go. Come on, Bean. You're such a pain in the ass. Go ahead. Okay. Hopefully you don't have to deal with that, but maybe you do. Okay. So I got the pancetta, the guanciale cooking in here. You can see it. Okay. Now I think we got about 2 minutes left on the pasta, but the pasta is very al dente. Very al dente. Well, you're going to say, well, why take it out now? Because I'm going to put it right in with the guanciale. And I'm going to cook it in here. Okay. Now, remember I mentioned to you that there are in the pasta, see how like it's not clearly done yet, right? Unless you're like my Caroline who loves al dente pasta. But I mentioned to you that these are done with bronze. Bronze dyes the pasta. So now I'm putting the pasta in here and I'm cooking it in the fat and the pasta water. I could turn it up a bit, okay, and put more water in. Because I want the pasta to actually cook in here. And I want it to absorb all the bacon juice or the guanciale juice, the actual, I want this to really, the bronze dye that these pastas extruded in will absorb the lamado. But the lamado is the starch, okay? So what you do is you're moving this pasta around and you're letting two things are happening. One, the flavor is being entered into the pasta. And two, the starch from the pasta is creating a bit of a creamy sauce underneath. Now you're going to see this, if you see this in here now, you see it's becoming creamy. Does everyone see that? That's from the lamado, or the starch of the pasta. That you can't do if you just take the pasta and if you just take the pasta from the cooked pasta and put it into the sauce. You can do that, but I think this gives it a much better taste and a texture, and a much more creaminess is what we're trying to get out of this. Now, I'm gonna let the pasta absorb a lot of this water. You guys watching this? Any questions so far?
I have a question, Charlie.
Sure, Adrian, go ahead.
What do you think that is better, the pasta, for the lunch or for the dinner? Because I have a conversation with one friend about that. In the quarantine, I feel a little bit fat,
Right,
I am
right.
trying to understand if the pasta is better in the lunch or in the night. And one friend from Spain told me, you never take pasta for the night. What do you think?
I don't think, I think if you exercise during the day, even if you just get around, I don't think it's a big deal. Look, I tell you, if you go to Italy, what you see is people don't eat huge quantities of pasta. And if they have pasta for lunch, they have just pasta. Sometimes for dinner, you'll see they'll have pasta and a seconde, as they say. But this is a pretty hearty meal, Adrian. So I think that I would only eat this once a day. I don't think it matters, but everyone says to me, probably better to eat pasta during the day as opposed to before you go to bed. But I leave that to the folks. If you're eating dinner Spanish style at 11 o'clock at night, right? Well, of course, anything you eat is going to be heavy, right? But a bowl of pasta is not going to kill you, my friend. And look at this. How could this be bad for you?
And Charlie, how much water did you add into the pan? And how much sugar?
I added. Watch. See where? Can you guys see the creaminess?
Yep.
That's just pasta water. That's all that is.
What you want?
I added about 4 scoopfuls. Turn the heat up, and really let it boil out into the pasta. So I'm actually cooking the pasta in here.
Got it. So you're relatively high temp also?
Very high temp. Because I'm really trying to boil this off, because I'm going to put the egg mixture in a minute, and you're going to see you're going to have the carbonara, right? But now, if you remember, I pulled the pasta before, it was like straight almost. See how it's ready now? The pasta is al dente, but it's getting ready. I still have a little too much water in here. Look, you can see I still have a little too much water. I want that to boil down a bit more. Okay? Now go ahead.
Nick and I are like 12 steps behind. Can you quickly go back to the paste? What goes into the paste?
Yes, sure. I use about a cup of parmigiana, a cup of romano, okay? And then I take, and if you don't have romano, don't worry. It's not the end of the world. One of the challenges we have is getting good romano here. And then black pepper, lots of black pepper, and egg yolks. I use 6 in this case here. Okay. I like mine rich. And then you just mix all that? That's it. You just mix it together, and that's the paste.
And where does that go?
You're going to see. It's coming up now.
Oh.
Overheat or no heat?
No heat. No heat. I haven't put it in yet. So look at what I got here, guys. I'm now going to put it in. You see that it's rich, it's creamy, but it's not too wet. Can you see that? I don't know if you get a good, it's hard with the smoke coming up. Okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this off, the heat, and I'm going to let it cool off a bit. Okay? Because it's hot. And so I'm putting air into the pasta. This is where you'll see the guys, they have very light pans, and they won't flip it up, but these are really heavy, and they look good, but they don't work as well as the light ones, and I don't want to throw the pasta on the floor. But my pasta is ready now, and it's still hot, but it should not make my eggs curdle, right? So now.
Charlie.
Yes.
Charlie, I have another question.
Yes.
A lot of people say that the pasta is better in the next day. What do you think about that? Because the pasta can, take the taste. What do you think?
No, pasta is, there's certain pastas like this one here that people put this in a frittata, or as you guys would call it, tortilla, no? And that's okay. Now look what I'm doing here. You see the egg mixture, everyone? I'm working this in like this. It's off the heat. You see I'm creating a creaminess. This is not eggs that are turning to scrambled eggs. This is creating a beautiful, beautiful carbonara cream sauce. Only thing in here is starch from the pasta and the cheese and the eggs. There's no butter. There's no cream. It looks like there's plenty of cream, doesn't there, in here? But it doesn't exist. Now, some people make this with 10 egg yolks or 4 for 12 for this much. I didn't, but you'll see that, Matt, when we went to the place in Rome with Marco, I know we went there with Danny too. I don't know if Danny's on with us, but when we went there, they have a special pasta they make. Must have 20 eggs in it, for God's sakes, Now, I'm going to taste this, and then we'll answer any questions. Oh, okay. I'll plate this first. Okay. All right. Where's Caroline? Is she available to taste this? Okay. Now, if you want, you bring it over here, put a little cheese on it, a little fresh pepper. I put a little Romano cheese on it, a little fresh pepper. That's it. And I get my wife to taste it. No, I guess I taste it first, I'm told. Wow. Wow. I have to tell you guys. Who made the carbonara?
Wow. Contos and Tobaccos did.
Laley and I are still working on it.
Hayden's still working too.
We're about to taste this one day. Tell you how it goes.
I made it on Carbonara Day.
Wow. Carbonara Day was Monday, Frankie pointed out.
Wow.
And the day after Palm Sunday. Now that was good. Did you make it like that, Frank?
Yep, no cream and no butter.
I thought maybe you made it like they'd make it in Switzerland with like mustard sauce and stuff.
No, I'm Italian, remember?
I thought so. Okay. Now, next dish. You guys, turn the water back on. The pasta water. Do you have that? If you're making this dish, you guys getting ready for it? I need a little break of wine. How is it, Kat?
Remix.
Okay. Okay, now we are going to now make the cacio e pepe. Does anybody know what cacio means? Brendan, you were so strong. Come on, somebody. Cacio, you would say, well, what's the Frankie, you help us out. What's the word in Italian for cheese?
Cacio.
Well, yeah, that's the dialect, okay? The word for cheese that everyone knows is formaggio, no? Formaggio comes from the Latin forma, which means to form something. So they would form this into a wheel, and that's where you get cheese. In southern Italy, they take it from the Latin word cassia, which means cheese. That's how the English got the word cheese, from Cacio. So we call them cacio, which is cheese, and pepe. Cheese and pepper. That's basically it. That's all you have in this dish. And, of course, the magic of pasta water. Okay. So now I brought the pastas before for you, and I showed you all the different kinds of pasta. Again, all the time with a dye. And we're going to use spaghetti quadrato chitarra numero uno, which is really a tonarelli. It's a square spaghetti. And I use this one from Molisa. Okay?
How much pasta you have there, Charlie?
I have a pound. In each one I have a pound, or, this one's 16 ounces. The other one was like 17. But this is a pound, 16 ounces. Now, Cacio e Pepe's from Lazio region of Rome. And it is, as opposed to carbonara that really was invented there, as I mentioned to you, Riccione. Frank, did you get that story or did you come in late? And you can see it's a square pasta. This is tonarelli, it's called. In this case, or spaghetti alla chitarra. And that's traditionally done with the cacio e pepe. Now, I got the water boiling back here. And I look at my number here, and it says that 13 to 15 minutes. So I'm going to set my timer for 10 minutes, which I have to do on my wife's phone. Sorry about that.
Hey, Charlie, if we don't have
Go
a
ahead.
proper pasta pot where you can just like slide it in there, is it frowned upon to break the pasta in half to fit into the pot, or do you prefer to just sit it on its side and mix it?
No, you put it on its side and mix it. What you do is this. You put it in like this. Hear me? See me? And then you spread it out like that. Okay? That's how you do it. Then it'll start to boil a little bit. Don't start your timer yet. And then start to just bend them down. What happens, the bottoms don't break it, but just bend them. You see that? Betsy, you get that? It'll all go together. Then you give it a good stir. And the pasta, now you start the timer. All the pasta's in there. Good, Betsy? Don't break the pasta.
Okay.
Because you're breaking you're breaking my balls when you're breaking a pasta. Okay? You need to spin the pasta. My poor wife's mortified right now with that one. Okay? So you need to spin the pasta on your plate. I told you the story of my daughter when she brought her first boyfriend home, and I heard a blood-curdling yell from the kitchen, and it was that she had, I thought, oh my God, what did this guy do? And the guy was Greek. I'm sorry about that, Matt, but the guy was Greek, and so I said, what's the matter? What's the matter? What happened? He goes, Dad, he cut his pasta. Don't cut the pasta. Twirl the pasta. I gave him 30 days or he was out. Turn the pot on. Medium heat. Okay? This is the simplest pasta recipe you'll ever have. And you learn the technique in the earlier one, so you should be fine. Okay? You are going to grate, or if you have a mortar and pestle, whatever you have, this is good. You see how thick how big those peppers are? You remember when we made the pizzaiola, we actually bloomed the pepper and the oregano? This is the same thing. It's called you're blooming it. You are getting, like, if you were here in this kitchen, if this phone had a smell thing, you'd be like, wow. You could smell the pepper coming out of it, like, beautiful. Okay? So, now, what do? What's the magic to pasta? Somebody help me. What's the magic to the pasta?
The water.
Pasta water.
Gracias, agua. Fantastic.
El agua de la pasta.
Okay, now, you're getting this nice and hot. You don't want to burn it, but you get it nice and hot. I'm going to put a little more pepper in because I'm excited about this. Okay? Okay? More pepper. Ah, smell that. That is beautiful. What's the second rule of Italian cooking? Always have wine in your hand. Actually, that's the first rule. Take the pasta water. You watching me, everyone? Look at that. You're creating the base. I put 2 ladles in, Matt. You're creating the base for the pasta. When the pasta, remember, we're going to cook it in here. In the meantime, we're going to come over here and make the paste. The paste for cacio e pepe, I almost always make it completely with Romano cheese. Don't forget, this is sheep's milk cheese. Remember I said, so what I'll do is I'll do like 3/4 Romano and about 1/4 Parmesan. Okay? Now, how do you, we bound the other one with eggs. How are we going to bound this one, guys?
Cheese.
No, we're going to bind it with a little bit of water from the pasta water. That little starch we have in there. And we're going to take this and we're going to create a paste. I need a little more water. I don't want to put too much in because it'll create too much will make it watery. So I'd rather have less water in it now, but I clearly still need some more. This is really absorbing the water, isn't it? Pasta water again. Who's making this at home?
I'm Nico.
That's
Literally still doing the carbonara.
I'm making it.
Okay, how's it going?
It's going. Trying to figure out my mom's kitchen.
I know that's the hardest part. I try to keep the ingredients simple this time. So now again, we've made a paste. See the paste here, guys? That paste is, you don't want it to create like stringy cheese. If you have too much water, when you put it into the pasta, it'll create like you've probably seen it. It's horrible. It's like it looks like a macaroni and cheese. You don't want that. You want a creaminess. We've already got a little creaminess going with the water in there and the pepper. Okay. How much time we have on the clock there?
4 minutes.
Okay. Now, I'm going to pull this out because I see this cooking pretty well. Okay? It's still very al dente, but we're going to cook it. Bless you. Bless you. We're going to cook it right in with this pepper sauce. Now, again, we want to mix air into it and create a creaminess. Don't be bashful because you could put more water in and then you can just let it absorb. This is almost like making this risotto style where the pasta is absorbing the water and the amido, which is the starch from the pasta, creates a creaminess underneath it. I'm putting air into this right now by mixing it. And I can see it's already starting to come together nicely. There's nothing in here except pasta water at this point and some pepper. But I'm going to throw a little more in. little more pasta water. How you coming, Nick? Lately, how you guys doing with the carbonara?
I think we're almost there, actually. It looks
All right.
good.
Don't put it in when it's too hot. Take it off the burner.
Okay.
When you put the cheese mixture in.
We just put the paste in, Charlie.
All right, you take it off the burner when you put the paste in?
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Don't put it on the burner. Okay, good.
Well, no,
Then
we're
you're
good.
okay.
It looks, smells. We're okay.
All right, good. This is starting to come together. You could see it's creating a creaminess already, just with the starch. Almost killed my wife here with the hot water sprinkling her face. I might do a little more cheese in here.
Chef Charlie, what's the best wine recommendation for this dish? What are you drinking right now?
I'm drinking a little white wine. I'll tell you what it is. It's Isonza de Friuli. It's a little white wine from Friuli. It's a nice, dry, crisp, very minerally white wine called Luisa. I like a little white wine with the pasta, with this type of pasta without the tomato sauce. But a nice red, a Pinot Nero would be beautiful if you have that, Pinot Noir.
Perfect.
If that's what you have, that's perfect too.
Thank you.
I don't think you want a heavy red, you know? Okay, so that's my thing telling me we have the pasta should be about ready right now, which it looks like it's getting there, doesn't it? But I still have too much water in there. So I want to boil some of the water off. But the pasta's still al dente, I could tell that. What's it called in the French cooking with the butter and the bain-marie? No, the bain-marie, which one? Where you take it with the butter and you put it in and it dissolves and thickens the soup. Okay. I think there's one called a bain-marie, which is like you take butter and flour and you create this little ball with it, and then you put it in the sauce and it thickens the sauce, but it thickens it slowly. This is sort of the same thing when you're putting the cheese in. You want it to be, look at that. See that? E morbido, as we say in Italian. It's soft, but it's clearly a paste. Yes, we're getting there, right there. You see how much water we have in there, guys, now? You know, the benefit the restaurants have is, the advantage the restaurants have is that they're doing one portion at a time. When you're cooking this at home, you're cooking at least a pound of pasta for your family and stuff. And so you got to have more cheese, more eggs. You got to do certain things. And you don't have their nice little pots and they're wicking it around. You got to make do. This is a home cooking show. It's not a show for, a Michelin 3-star restaurant. But guarantee it'll be better than that. Okay, now I have this. I have very little water in. I take it off. Now, I'm going to want to get this cool now. It's got to cool off a bit. But you can see the water. You see it's creamy in there. Can you guys see it's creamy? Now I put the cheese in. Okay. Okay. The same as before. it's too dry, this seems perfect to me. If it's too dry, you can put a little pasta water in. The reason you don't want to put it in when it's wet, too wet, and then you can't bring it back from there. You got to add more cheese. But you see, there's no clumpiness. It's all a beautiful cacio and pepe.
I'm a couple steps behind, but can I confirm that you take the pasta off the heat before putting the cheese in?
100%, kiddo.
Okay, thank you.
Ready? Honestly, fantastic. You have to taste the bite. Hey, come on. I got a thumbs up. Okay, that's it. Carbonara, spaghetti alla carbonara, and cacio e pepe, tonnarelli, cacio e pepe.
Bravo, Charlie.
Bravo, Charlie. Excelente trabajo.
Bravo.
Well done, Charlie.
Thank you, Charlie.
Are there any questions? Any questions or what?
That was delicious.
What's for next week?
What's the first next week?
Everyone has to go to Nick and then Corel. Between the two of them, they're supposed to tell you what you want next week. Next week, I'm open for anything.
You guys tell me what you want.
Yes, tell Nick, and we'll do something special next week. All right? Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Love
Charlie.
you guys. Thank you.
Grazie, Charlie.
Primo, te quiero.
Te quiero mucho.